Hello everyone, I'm Vi. I'm e-commerce marketing expert at Omnisend. And today we're going to talk about how basic automation in email marketing just doesn't cut it anymore. And I'm sure you have been seeing this talk of behavioral this, behavioral that on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on other social channels. And it's definitely a topic that I'm personally interested in. I even have a degree in behavioral economics. But coming from that background, I'm looking at all the buzzwords and all the BS that is out there. You know, it's kind of became clickbaity. Anything behavioral seems to get the clicks, but is there actually value in that? So, today I can promise you that, but we're not going to have any BS, just the good old tactical things and insights and tips that you can use straight away. And to help with that, today we have James, who's the founder of Rage Creative, and they are our partners, agency partners at Omnisend. So James, would you like to say hello?
Hi there, everyone. Thank you, Vi, for the wonderful introduction. It's great to be here again. And as Vi said, there we've got a lot to get through today. I've wasted 12 years of my life nerding out over automations and flows, so you don't have to. So hopefully, you'll really get some good value from this today.
Yeah, we'll take you up on that one. So before we begin, a couple of things for everyone to know. This session is being recorded. You will receive the recording in your email in a couple of days. And if at any point you have any questions for James, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A tab, so you can pop your questions in there, and we'll do our best to answer those at the end of this session. So James, the stage is yours.
Perfect. Thank you again, everyone, for joining today. A bit about myself and Rage before we kick off, so you're hearing it from the right place. Rage Creative, we're a e-commerce and D2C specialist agency. We provide revenue generation marketing activity, with email marketing being one of our biggest sellers. And the reason it's so popular is because we have great platforms to work alongside, like Omnisend, who we're very honored to be partnered with. So today, it's all about flows, automations, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of people set and forget. You'll be hearing this phrase debunked, sort of demyth throughout the call today. But gone are the days where you can set up simple flows and still expect to be delivering the same results as you were maybe, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The way people interact with not just email, but, general marketing changes dramatically and very quickly. So you need to make sure that your automations are evolving alongside this to keep up. As if you're not keeping up, then your competitors are just going to be taking the market share, and you're going to be left in the dust. So we're going to be making sure that you're using your finite time resource effectively. And you also are going to be going away from today, being able to level up your existing automations and actually applying some new ones, and hopefully, obviously, with the help of Omnisend's great platform. And we're also going to be sort of analyzing segmentation within this, which obviously adds to the flows and helping create sort of smarter customer journeys. And then go through some real success cases that obviously Omnisend has been able to achieve through the power of their platform and especially around automations. So why we're here. The customers are evolving. So digital shoppers in 2025, they're getting bombarded left, right, and center from ads on their social media to even WhatsApp now. So there becomes a digital fatigue, let's say, where if it's not relevant and it's not catching up at the right time, it's going to be either ignored, deleted, or scrolled past. So personalization is paramount, and gone are the days where just having a first name in a subject line is enough. When we think of personalization, hyper personalization, we're looking at really defining this persona, this person, based on their behavior, at what time are we hitting them with an email? If they're people at work, and you want to send them something to sell them in their personal lives, and let's try in the evening, or just some high level observation there. Um, and again, speaking about an omni-channel journey, so incorporating different channels of communication, because based on your demographic, your age, your location, you may be using different methods of communication. So email might not be your out and out one, but incorporating SMS or WhatsApp or Messenger into these journeys is only going to help build, obviously, rapport with your customer base, and help in terms of actually generating conversions consistently. And people are just impatient right now. They can. People don't have a lot of time in this busy world. If you're like myself, we're constantly working, constantly looking to make the most out of our days. So why would we waste our time scrolling through every single email if we know that they're not going to be relevant? So whether that's relevant on timing, whether that's relevant on the actual content itself, the customer has fully evolved in the digital landscape, where timing, personalization is key, and especially how they obviously behave and interact with your brand and your marketing efforts. So has your automation kept up? And what I mean by this is, when's the last time you've gone into your flows, or when's the last time you spoke to someone in the know that's knowledgeable about this, and just really taking a step back and reassess the landscape of your automations at the moment? So many e-commerce businesses still rely on old automations. So just as people used to rely on bulk sending to their whole campaign list, they're just adding, a few automations to do that for them without thinking. And this is very dangerous, because this could really affect, the quality of your data, the deliverability of your entire account. And then any of your efforts take obviously a considerable amount of time to get that delivery back up. So your emails aren't just landing in spam or obviously within the promotional inbox, but they're relevant. People are opening them, people are clicking them. It shows the platforms that these are relevant to the audience, and then it increases your deliverability score, and then that will make sure you're going into the right inboxes to get the maximum impact. So let's look at the difference between static and dynamic. And again, a lot of you will probably be aware of this, but it's quite good to go over it fundamentally, as we're going to be going into greater detail down the line. So the old way is a time-based series, which is sent to absolutely everyone. So it's basically scheduling a campaign, a single email campaign, maybe setting up a follow-up for people that haven't opened the initial email. But this doesn't really take into account any customer behavior. Maybe obviously the follow-up email when it comes to open, but realistically, you're not putting, the customer's behavior first, and missing out there on, a lot of relevant timings and content. So the dynamic way, and what we're really going to be focusing on moving forward, is it triggers that respond to each customer's actions in real time. And we'll cover what those triggers look like and how you can make the most of them in a couple of slides down the line. Now, if someone has changed, so a customer has new interests, different engagement patterns, and your emails haven't adjusted, you're talking to a customer who no longer exists. So we need automations that follow the customer's lead. So when we're looking at behavior-based email automation, what is it and how can we make the most out of it? So automated messages are triggered by customer behavior and not by a fixed schedule. The content and times are prompted by what the shopper does or doesn't do. And we can go at it from a very basic level to an to extremely complex level of detail. So let's look at behavior-based email automation. So a user opting in. So this could be opting in for an ebook guide that's obviously relevant to, let's take it from like recipes, for example. If you're running, um, you know, selling cookware, or providing sort of an ebook that people can opt in for, and also want more good quality marketing content in the future, you can send a welcome series. This is an extremely simple but very powerful flow, because it really sets off the relationship with that customer with email marketing. So the user needs to opt in for something relevant, and then when they're receiving the follow-up emails, it needs to also maintain being relevant and targeting them at the right time, at the right place, with the right messaging. Um, so a customer can view a product. Now, if you're like me, I can be extremely indecisive at times, and I may need to see the same product 8 times before purchasing. So why don't we keep reminding people what they're missing out on? So a customer may view a product on your website. We can send a browse follow-up flow. What we want to do is act on their intent very quickly. So we can set, obviously, once they viewed the product, within 30 minutes, they can have a follow-up email saying, great, like, we noticed you checked this out. What can we do, obviously, to get you over the line, or what more information, at sort of a high level do you need? And again, very simple, and based on that customer's behavior. Abandoning a cart. So again, someone may not have their card at that time, or they may just have, oh, I need to be actually sensible this month. I've already spent too much on Deliveroo. I can't afford, actually treating myself. So the abandoned cart may follow up and say, okay, this is still available. You obviously do want it. Why don't you have, a cheeky little discount as an incentive to obviously completing the purchase? Another way that you can really evolve this, and this is what I mean by continuously evolving your flows, is that if someone has put a product into a cart, for example, 3 times in a row, and they haven't completed a purchase, let's think, why is that? So we actually do something at Rage where we provide them a follow-up email that provides them with a product that's a bit cheaper. That it might be too expensive what they're looking at the moment, or it's not premium enough for them. So then we provide them with a more expensive alternative and break down the reasons of why that they should be going for this. Again, we're really reaching out to their behavior. We're noticing that they have intent for this product, so let's close them. So makes a purchase. Very straightforward. Send an order follow-up or review, or a review request. So a lot of people fall into the trap of, once they've made the purchase, then that's where the customer journey ends. But most of the time, that's usually where the customer journey begins. You've done the hard work, you've got someone through the door, and now you've got to focus on your client purchase acquisition, and also your lifetime average value. So providing them with loyalty discounts, follow up, feedback sessions, support, review requests really makes them feel part of a community, and can keep them coming back and keep purchasing with you. And then what happens when someone becomes inactive? So let's say they purchased, and then haven't repurchased again in 60 days. Let's send them a re-engagement offer that we call the Godfather flow, because we provide them with an offer that they simply can't refuse. And if they still refuse that, then it's time to wave goodbye at this point. Each contact is basically going to be costing you money, and you only want to be having people within your platform that actually have buying intent and going to be engaging in your marketing. Don't fall in the trap of being a hoarder. But as you can see, very, very high level, these are just a handful of behavior-based triggers that can start email automations. So let's have a look at how we can make the most of this through Omnisend, and how Omnisend really help simply lay it out for people of all levels. But as you can see, it captures real-time events from your store. So sign-ups, product page visits, cart events, and purchases. And it really lets you build workflows triggered by those events. And again, the handful of ones you see, it's a rabbit hole. You can really go into detail and really create a very robust automation network that's going to be converting and following a customer through every step of the journey. So the conversion power of behavior-based automations is 10 times greater. So a statistic that can't be ignored simply. So behavior-based automations dramatically outperform generic emails. On average, 1 in 3 people who click on an automated behavior-triggered message end up making a purchase, compared to just 1 in 18 for traditional scheduled newsletters. And I feel that in terms of the amount of emails that are sent via automation, it makes up 2% of your entire email sent throughout the year. That makes obviously the majority of your revenue. So this is why it's so important to keep evolving them, to keep optimizing them, adding to them, and making sure that they're tailored to your ever evolving and changing customer base. So now let's look at the ROI of behavior-based automations. So as I just mentioned, high conversions and low volume. So automated emails, they generate about 37% of email-driven sales, while representing a small portion of only 2% of total sales. So you can see in the, a nice visual representation of that in the bottom right there. So the yearly revenue, the automations are making up, 48% of their entire revenue. And that's fantastic. A lot of work goes into building them, so a lot of front loaded work, but then you can just let these run, come back to them, tweak them slightly. So if you're struggling with time and resource and you want to make a lot more conversions and sales through email marketing, then automations are by far the best way to go. So better engagement, Omnisend data. So we're looking at our automation performance here. So as you can see, especially a niche that we work with within the financial sector, you're looking at average open rates of, let's say, 24%, open rates of between sort of 1.5 to 2%. Conversion rates are going to be around, let's say, 0.20%. And then click to the conversion, we're looking at anywhere between sort of 0.02% or above. So let's just have a look at how that compares to automation. So as you can see, they are consistently much, much higher. The open rates are far greater because, they're based on behavior. They're not based on time. And click to send, obviously huge, based on obviously compared to obviously the industry average as well. The conversion rate, again, exceptional. And there's so many even variables throughout this. And then obviously click to conversion, again, extremely high. But again, here's just another overview, adding more elements of automations of what can be done. So back in stock. So we're looking at the behavior-based automation. So we're looking at the viewed product. They're looking at the viewed product. It's sold out. It's showing that they have an interest in it. But when that product is back in stock, we can obviously send them an email. They're very excited. They obviously can purchase that straight away. And as you can see, that's got a tremendous row of stats across the board. So it's just thinking of these common things, these wants and needs of our customers, and making sure we're hitting them at the right time. And as I mentioned, it's revenue on autopilot. So automated messages are converting at 33% for those who click, and about 1 in 2 clicks on a welcome or car email leads to a purchase. So if you're looking to get the most out of your email marketing, automations are by far the best way to go. So a general benchmark, you're looking at $36 to $40 for every dollar spent on average. And with Omnisend, it's as high as $68 revenue per $1 spent. And this is because they make it easy for you, but also provide not just an entry level for beginners when it comes to automation, but a very high ceiling for obviously experienced email marketers and e-commerce marketing specialists to really refine automations and really drive them and optimize them to the next level. So let's look at specific capabilities of Omnisend and how it brings behavior automation to life. So you're thinking, this is all very great, but I don't have a lot of time, and where do I start? So the best protocol for you to start off with is just checking out the pre-built workflows, because there are so many, as you can see, obviously from the GIF in the bottom right. There are so many available that do all the hard work for you. It takes the guessing out of it, and this just gives you, a foot in the door, gets things set up, and then allows you to come back, spend a few hours each week, obviously just then checking the analysis, upgrading them. So you can quickly plug these in quickly, proven structures at your fingertips, and again, it connects directly to your store. And you're going to be increasing conversions just by applying a few of these. And then one-click integration. So if you're like me, I'm a bit of code phobic. I know about it, but my love is for email marketing rather than coding and integrations. So if you're looking for plug and play, then it's as easy as that. So you can select the type of flow that you want to put in. You can either build one from scratch, or you can customize obviously the templates to make sure that it's fit for your customers. Because again, not every size, it's not a one size fits all approach here. Like, it's good as a starting block, but then as you learn from your customers' behavior, the way that they're clicking, the emails that they're opening, it will help you refine that abandoned cart flow and make it a bit better. So looking at triggers, if their cart's over a particular value, then obviously providing them with a particular discount, so on and so forth. Like I said, the possibilities there, pretty much infinite. And as you can see here, the trigger, so customer enters the workflow when they start the checkout, customer exits the workflow when they place an order. And the one-click integration is because obviously it connects directly to your store, so easy. And then when it comes to it, it's for me one of my favorite automation builders. Again, you can choose a pre-made one and edit it, or you can completely create one from scratch. And with the intuitive platform, you can go through every detail of that flow. So there's options there to send emails, again, incorporate SMS as an omni-channel approach, push notifications, set timers, making sure that if you're obviously international and you're covering lots of different countries, making sure that it's hitting them when they're actually going to be awake and not just sending a blanket out to all times at once. You can tag the content, you can add splits. So again, based on their behavior, they'll go down certain paths to get more, relevant messaging, relevant offers. And there's what I would do is just have a play around with it. You don't actually have to push anything live, but really just gauge the possibilities and scope that's available with this. And then if you're setting up your segmentation and data correctly, making sure that it's either when people are landing into a segment, into a list, and you can make sure that it's going to the right people. And then when it's ready, you just start the workflow and it's live. It's as easy as that. So I touched on it previously there, but when you're looking at an evolving customer base, some people interact with certain marketing channels a lot more than they do others. So, stand out by reaching customers on their preferred channel. So you may start off with an email, and, based on whether they open it, or if they open it and they don't click, they can then obviously receive a follow-up SMS. Again, it's very different in terms of the messaging, and a bit of an art in itself. But keeping SMS, for example, simple is going to be a lot more effective. And yeah, having an omni-channel approach just allows you to really connect with your customer base, on a much deeper level than just sending an email, which, some people don't check their inboxes for weeks, where, you can't really ignore an SMS pop up on your phone. So when you're looking at ways of, improving your conversions, pushing obviously traffic to the site, really consider implementing obviously an SMS strategy. And with the pro plan that Omnisend does offer, when you're getting obviously your free SMS credits, and probably a lot of you aren't actually using those, have a look into it, get some set up, make sure you're using obviously your allocation each month, because this can make a real difference to hitting your customers where they need to, when you need to, and upping those conversions. So then we can look at real-time personalization. So behavior data, like last product viewed, can be merged into the email automatically. So it feels very personable and people can relate to it. So if your obviously store is set up correctly, your product catalog should show an image, an overview, the price. So, showing people exactly what they've attempted to purchase. And like I said, this then allows you to provide other people who bought similar also purchase this, to then obviously increase your average basket size. And based on the data, these things that are usually brought together is going to be based on the behavior of other similar customers. And this is where you can start seeing how the behavior of your customers can really determine whether or not they're spending $5 per basket, or potentially hundreds of dollars per basket, or even more than. So this, if you're unsure on this, always reach out to Omnisend support, or reach out to your marketing specialist, where you can really make sure that your products are perfectly set up in your catalog, so that you can really start pushing powerful product related emails to your customer base. So now, we've gone over what is, behavior, the capabilities of Omnisend, of how to capitalize on your customers' behavior. So now let's looking at evolving your automations for the modern customers. So the first thing you need to do is be really honest with yourself and audit your current flows, and be overcritical. Look at the open rates, look at the click rates, look at everything possible, and really then start looking at how your triggers are set up, because that's the first step of everything. When are these flows triggering? Have they not got the right filters on? Have you not set up what we call flow prioritization? Because realistically, if your customers can set off free flows and they can receive all of those flows at the same time, they're going to get annoyed immediately, probably unsubscribe. And then the hard work you've done to get those on board is completely gone. So audit the flows, see how the triggers are set up, see your flow prioritization, which ones should you be prioritizing? Which emails would you rather, take a back seat when the other flows in order? And look at, the features and blocks that you're currently using within your flows. Because this will paint a picture of, what is going well, if anything's going well, or what isn't going well, and what can be improved on. And what flows you currently have, and from the list obviously that we've gone through today, or even from the pre-built ones in Omnisend, what possibly is out there and relevant for your customer base. So move from single emails to a series of emails. As mentioned, me personally, I need to see a product 3 to 8 times before I'm ready to give up my hard-earned money, unless it's something super relevant. So a single email, can easily be missed. Someone might be busy. You might have had been kept up all night by your, recently born child, and slept in a bit too long. So having a follow-up email, to capture those people again at a better time, based on, the usual open times, is going to be a lot more effective. So then matching customer expectations as well. And it's going back to relevance of messaging and products. So we don't want to clickbait customers into subscribing, and we need to make it very obvious to them that what they're subscribing for, exclusive content, which is going to be relevant, exclusive offers is what they're going to be receiving. and to make it that, they're in control. We want to make it easy for them to subscribe, but also just as easy to unsubscribe, because if we're doing, due diligence, and we're only sending them emails that they want to receive, and sending them at the right time so that they open them and digest the information, then we're doing our job. People will never look to unsubscribe from your list. So again, your flows have to evolve to match the ever-changing nature of your customers. People get older, people, some get families, some become, single business-minded people and move forward. So we need to make sure that we keep on top of this. And we're looking at incorporating, a multi-channel steps. So gone are the days where, just an email flow is enough. We need to look at incorporating, SMS, push notifications to really target people with different channels, because, I keep rambling on about it, but people interact differently with different channels all the time. And then it's continuous improvement. So again, I think the first thing I ever said was set and forget, which is not something you want to do, because it can change very quickly based on, offers, based on timing. You could have gone into, got really popular in a different country, and there may be less relevant parts of your flow that can be taken out, A/B tested or changed. So yeah, this is very important, and you don't need to spend a lot of time on it. Again, as long as you're focused on what you want to get out of that session, you can spend an hour a week just looking at a couple of flows, because the statistics and the analytics showed so clearly, obviously within the Omnisend platform, it's very easy to see what's working and what isn't, so you can make obviously the adequate changes. So we're now going to go through, as mentioned, case studies. So this shows you that, what we're preaching, it works. So Vape Superstore, we're looking for, significant mobile signups, as they really wanted to drive, obviously, SMS. So 80% of their online visitors are on their mobile device. So obviously people look at emails on mobile, but again, SMS, very difficult to miss for most people on a mobile device. So they implemented a multi-step form. So this is quite common, where you don't want to create a barrier to entry for your email signups. So you have your 10% off your first order for your emails, and then, a secondary step where people then can leave their phone number to then obviously receive SMS marketing as well, with a simple success page, obviously following from that. So they implemented a multi-step form, and the mobile form had a 32% sign-up rate, which is phenomenal. I mean, anywhere, above 4% is really, really good in my opinion. Ours tend to be around, 12, 14, and, some up to the heights of this, but 32 is extremely significant. And you think about that amount of people, then, you've got a lot of SMSs that you need to be sending, that you can add to the flows. So that's all done for you. And, all of those new people are going to be welcome. They're going to feel part of something. And they're going to be looking, obviously, to convert and spend with you for a very, very long period of time. So let's look at an abandoned cart flow here from Creality. We noticed a significant number of potential customers were adding products to their carts but not completing the purchase. So it became crucial for us to find a way to recover those lost sales. So a report based on email marketing trends that I actually covered in a previous webinar showed that the abandoned cart flow alone can save around 20% of annual revenue a year when obviously set up correctly. So just alone from this particular flow, it generated sales of €560,000 and 50% open rate for an abandoned cart automation, as you can see there, obviously firsthand. And these can be some of the simplest flows out of all of them. if you haven't got this, this should be the first thing you're setting up to obviously catch abandoned carts, essentially. And again, like, more than happy to answer any questions on how to sort of evolve this and take this to the next level. As I mentioned, we evolve it by, if they've continuously left the same product in the abandoned cart, let's just chuck some alternatives at them to see if we can, push them to make that first sale or repeat sale. And then Island Olive Oil, so the life cycle driven automations. So obviously they are an SMB against obviously very larger businesses. And these automations allow them to have reach, obviously send many emails that obviously highly convert at the right time, without having to spend hours and hours and hours, obviously spending manually sending campaigns after campaigns after campaigns. So you can see obviously on the right hand here, automated messages sent 1.22% of sends, but it made up 39% of their marketing email revenue. So automations alone paid for a full year of Omnisend in only 8 months. So an incredible ROAS there. And the lifecycle stage map is an incredible opportunity for a small business. So this is the kind of thing that otherwise takes a marketing team to be able to do. And that's a very important thing. Not everyone's going to have the luxury of a very well-equipped marketing agency or team. So these features can really help you increase your conversions and revenue per email significantly. So let's look at new strategies. So creating smarter, more relevant journeys. So advanced segmentation. So let's look at the lifecycle stage map. This is a great feature that I absolutely love and use on a daily basis. So you'll see here that it breaks down each of your customers based on behavior and interactions with your email marketing efforts. So from about to lose, so people that are inactive, as we discussed before, we've got all the way to champions, so people that obviously purchase and interact significantly, as well as loyalists. And it will really give you a scope of your data and what you're dealing with, because it will allow you to really provide a plan for what automations you're going to start with. Where's the biggest quick win and where's, what's not as a priority. So analyzing and understanding your data will really help you provide advanced segmentation. Then you can start obviously creating segments that will trigger certain flows or automations that will be extremely relevant in terms of timing and content to obviously increase conversion significantly. So looking at new trigger opportunities. So again, with the abandoned cart, we can look at personalization, which is what we've been discussing throughout this. We can look at the product title, the product status, product price, product currency, really get specific based on the wants and needs and behaviors of our customers here. So one thing that obviously if a customer looks at a product, we're showing them that exact product that they've looked like. So did you like event product title? Head back to for another look. And this is obviously all self-generated, but it feels personable. This personalization really adds a nice human touch to this. And people have more trust in humans than they do in AI at the moment. So utilizing these personalization options for obviously new trigger opportunities is fantastic. And then back to the multi-channel journeys. So if applying SMS into your existing email flows can make an immediate impact, and also push notifications as well, whether that's Chrome or other platforms. It really targets your customers at every opportunity, and again, it allows you to analyze if they're reacting to the SMS more or whether they're reacting to the push notifications more. Do you need to bring the push notifications earlier into the journey? Do you need to push the SMS back? And again, having those analytics clearly displayed and having them all laid out neatly, will really help you define, obviously, these more advanced strategies moving forward. And then personalized content at scale. So again, not just showing the first name or location anymore, but we're showing the products people were looking at, making it really relevant, whether it's the best-selling products, recently added products, most viewed products, or products similar to past purchases. And again, allowing us to get repeat purchases for something that someone really likes, or if they purchase that same thing 3 times, it's give them an offer for the fourth one, to keep them coming back. But again, this level of personalization is sort of the bare minimum moving forward, where just first name just isn't going to cut it, frankly. And then AI and optimization. So with everything, there is some form of AI in everything we're using in this day and age. But the AI that's included, obviously, within the Omnisend platform is fantastic. It really allows you to analyze channel trends, obviously across omni-channel automations. You can either get it to help create personalized subject lines in preview text. And it also, now it's just in beta, but you're able to use AI, where you type in what you want to achieve, and it will either build or suggest a pre-built automation for you. So it's like I said, it's still in beta at the moment, but test it out. It can really help if you're not sure what it's called, or where to find it within all of the pre-built flows in there. Just typing in what you want to achieve, as in like customer subscribed, and he opened 3 emails, in the last month, and then it will be able to create a segment for you, which you can then build out a flow and triggers for. So key takeaways and next steps for you all. So behavior-based equals better results. We've gone through the case studies, we've gone through the examples of the statistics there. It clearly shows that when your messaging and timing is more relevant and personalized, you're going to be getting better results and significant better results. And you're meeting modern expectations. We're not just receiving, handwritten letters anymore. We are communicating on so many different devices and platforms. We're essentially cyborgs at this point. So meeting modern expectations of, targeting people with relevant messaging on the right channels and devices is only going to help improve your reputation, deliverability, and conversions. And again, leverage Omnisend's tools. There is so much available for you to utilize, and there's AI optimization. There's also obviously the pre-built automations. There's so much that you can go away with now, not put much thought into it, but implement the beginning of your behavior-based automations and flows to really start getting a huge market share back from your competitors, and having a very significant end to 2025. And that just adds to my point that I made. Don't feel overwhelmed and sort of paralyzed by, oh my God, there's so much I need to go away and implement. Start with one, get it set up, review it after a week. If you're happy with the results, move on to the next one. But in the Q&A, I'm sure people are going to be asking, which one should I prioritize? We can go over that. But as I mentioned, the welcome flow and the abandoned checkout, you should be going away and getting those set up today if they're not there already. So next steps, outline an action plan. So again, don't go all in gun ho. Take a little breath, do your audit, and then create an action plan. I'd identify one automation you improve or launch this week. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, as mentioned before, and then just have some fun with it. You don't have to push anything live, but you can really explore Omnisend's capabilities. And as mentioned, contact support for assistance, and then monitor the results, and then spend time each week optimizing your flows. And the best part is obviously celebrating the huge wins that you're going to be getting. So I really appreciate everyone's time today. I really hope that that's been informative. Again, I could have kept you all here for 4 hours going into great detail, but I know no one has that or probably wants to do that. However, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, James Ollerhead at Rage Creative, and send me a DM if you have any, questions, or contact Rage Creative if you want to grab some more time to really see, what's possible. If you need obviously a bit of a helping hand to get these flows started. So I keep filibustering while I give people the opportunity to either click through to the website or scan the QR code. But everyone, yeah, again, thanks again to Vi and the team at Omnisend for having me here again, and thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, I hope that was really useful for everyone.
Oh, you don't need to filibuster. We have questions.
The thing is, I can't even see the chat, so I was nervous, but I'm
That's all
hoping that there's
good.
lots of
There are
questions.
many compliments going your way. So well done, James. That was really, really good. And I think it's just so refreshing to look at, that behavioral things don't have to be complicated. Like if you get the
Mm.
basics, that's enough.
It's exactly that. And again, we go back to that word paralysis, where you overthink it, and you don't really know where to start. So start small and grow big.
Absolutely. And I do really encourage everyone, just set some time next week, maybe even today, if you can, just decide which automations you're going to audit. And you will also receive the recording and the slides. So you can open the slides in a couple of days and kind of go side by side what you have, what James already spoke about, and really like plan the audit and just implement the things step by step, because those little incremental changes that will create a massive impact. So when you were talking, actually at the beginning, you said impatient for relevance. And I think it would be a great band name, but also,
Yeah.
but I think that is so true when you think about our consumers from the very empathetic angle. Just being like, yes, of course, they're getting bombarded with all the ads, with the emails, social media, everywhere we are, we're getting bombarded with ads and irrelevant content as well. That like I personally just stopped like reporting ads that I'm not interested in. I'm just like, just let it run. Like it's just, happening. So like when it comes to our automations and our emails, I think it's just so important from the business perspective, like be
Yeah.
respectful of your customers. Because I always like to say we have a limited goodwill capacity with our customers. So like at some point you can run out if you're very relevant. But at the beginning, if you feel like, oh, maybe I'm spamming, maybe it's too much, you're not, unless you're actually intentionally spamming people. So as long
Exactly.
as
Yeah.
you're intentional. We actually had a question that I think it would be very interesting to hear for people that are a little bit more advanced with automation and
Mhm.
maybe have bigger size businesses as well. So we spoke about the basic flows like welcome, abandon cart. In your experience, are there any other flows that might be a little bit more custom that you've seen do really well?
Yeah, that is a great question. So again, it's sort of an evolution on the follow-up email. So this is down to behavior, and it's not just stopping at behavior for how they interact with your marketing, but how they actually experience the product. So if you've got a software for service, for example, that you're selling, we work with a tech provider who is able to create data events where they can trigger, where let's say someone is testing something, and they fail that test, for example, we can send an email and a notification and a trigger immediately when that person fails that test or fails that service, to be like, sorry, you failed on this occasion, but here's a discount to get right back on the horse and pass it this time around. So you're taking it not from just the marketing efforts, but then you're actually combining it with how they're interacting your product again. So this goes back to the customer journey. So it doesn't end when someone purchases the product. Again, in my opinion, it's only where it just starts. So providing this additional support based on their behavior is only going to be able to be like, wow, like these guys actually really want me to pass this test. I really appreciate that. Or, it's time to upgrade your water filter. We know it's, how you tailor it. But one for me is if you do have the option of, some technical development, really seeing what data is possible from the way they're interacting with your service that can actually, create some custom fields, data fields within your profiles to then trigger, further personalized behavioral emails. I hope that sort of covers it.
Yeah, that's an excellent example. And I think like given the AI and all the API capabilities, that is the future. Those kind of like
It is.
almost gamified, almost weird at this point experiences when you're like again interacting with a product, with a business, and then again you're getting very relevant suggestions and interactions, which I think if done right, that's what we all want, like, don't we?
It's exactly that. Again, it's relevance at the end of the day. You're getting a message right when you're most not vulnerable, but you're most receptive to it. So yeah, that's what we try and focus on, and that's why we deliver such great results for our clients.
Yeah, and when you said receptiveness, I also thought about when you were talking about SMS and push notifications. Like, yes, we were talking about email today, and that's the basis of it. But if we're really leaning into the behavior side of things, then SMS is a must. Like I like the results we were seeing, and again, we're always on our phones, and you can't ignore SMS. So I think it's just so fundamental to complement your emails with something.
Exactly that, and it's a very easy thing to do. And like I said, most people have the pro plan, and they're just not taking advantage of the SMS. So reach out to support straight away and see, what you can do to quickly get that set up into your flows. Get obviously a little telephone number verified, then you're set and you're good to go. Again, it just because it becomes second nature. It runs in the background, and as long as it's done in the right way, where it's not too intrusive, again, you're going to really see great results coming from that.
Yeah, and we also had one question. So, if it's relevant to your experience as well, because Rage Creative is more about D2C, but what about B2B marketing? Are there any specific flows that maybe are different from what you shared today?
So B2B, again, it really depends on the service that you're providing. And with obviously sort of the AI optimizations, it will allow you to see trends a lot easier for those longer customer journeys. So you may look at not just, in my opinion, one long flow, because then that can really lose the personalization element of it because you're already sort of predetermining what your customers are going to do. But you start with, let's say, like a seven omni-channel sequence, which then provides a tag or it puts them into a different segment depending on their behaviors in their list. So what you're doing is then you're building a network that is more efficient than one big form. So the point I'm making with that when it comes to B2B is that when the customer journey is a lot longer, you're able to really help optimize key elements of that particular journey. And that might be, incorporating some Zapier hooks, for example, where you're then interacting with different CRMs, different data sources. You're notifying sales agents to, if you're B2B and, 10 leads a year, but your product's like 3 million, you need to make sure that you're optimized to nailing those 10 leads whenever they come in through that entire year, because that's make or break for you. You haven't got a lot of opportunities to do that. So having really detailed flows that don't just reach out to them and connect with them, but they also notify your team in a way that they can quickly jump on opportunities, and they can get on a call and easily see how they've behaved, what they're interested in, and then even the call that they can make is relevant at that point. And that's all from the beginning of the data and the automation that we're building.
Absolutely. When you were saying these things, because I'm quite visual, I was literally imagining that flow that you're building. It's just never ending. There are things happening. But as you said, like you're predetermining things and you almost just guessing. Okay, so first two, three steps, kind of you have the data, and then you're like, well, I think this is going to happen, but that's so far in the future, you might be missing you're missing your shot. And when it kind of reminded me when I was consulting e-commerce businesses, one of the ways to explain things to especially new businesses was just think about keeping your customer in your communication loop. So they're in that one segment, and then something changes, it triggers them not to leave the segment and just float around, but just like kind of go into another segment, and you're talking to them again, optimizing your message for that segment. They leave the segment, and then you make sure you have another segment ready for them, and you kind of like keep communicating with them in those smaller, batches and smaller, better controlled environments as well.
Yeah, exactly that.
Awesome. Also, regarding the AI tools, I'm actually very, very excited just to kind of, it's just slipping some previews, but there are some very exciting things happening with Omnisend. So just keep an eye on your emails, in your chat boxes, your dashboard. We will be talking about them. But I think if you found this helpful, that's going to be next level when it comes to behavioral things in Omnisend. And I think we covered all the questions now. I just wanted to ask, like, purely from logistical point of view, because we all are busy people. Now we shared all those things, the next steps and all that. In your opinion, thinking from two perspectives, small businesses and let's say businesses that do over $1 million in revenue a year, so like more medium-sized businesses. So you can imagine they have different numbers of automations now. So how do you approach auditing them? Like we're saying, yeah, pick one, pick two, but I'm like thinking of the list of automations some businesses might have. So from the logistics point of view, like you don't have people, you don't have the capacity. How would you approach that?
Again, it's coming up with a robust action plan, and it's easier said than done, without obviously falling into the trap of paralysis. So the easiest thing to do, find the things that aren't working. If there are things that are working to some degree, you can come back to those and you can optimize them and make them better. But if something's fundamentally not working, then that's the first thing you should prioritize looking at, because that could be, a gaping hole. And alongside that, obviously the prime flows. So one that sets up your deliverability for your entire account, like the welcome flow. And then obviously the abandoned checkout is hugely important. So that would be my advice. So looking at, where the biggest issues are and are hitting them first. And then also checking that your two major prime flows are, again, live and they are performing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also always remind people, check your abandoned product flows as well, because those are often overlooked, and instantly you can start generating that return on your investment. And it's so easy to set up.
It is, yeah. Especially with, like I said, Omnisend, I keep pushing this platform. But even with, little knowledge, you can quickly get one added. And then for the bigger businesses, again, it's building out that product catalog. It's, building out that behavioral data, because they'll have so much more data obviously available, and really hitting them when people are most receptive.
Absolutely. Well, James, thank you so much. They were just raving in the chat. Everyone loved this. And we're gonna send everyone the recording. So share it with your colleagues or your friends. We will also upload this to YouTube, so you can always access it. And for those who registered, you will receive the slides as well. So you can go through them one more time, a couple of times, however times you may want to do that. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. James, thank you for coming back. I hope we'll see you again.
Yeah, likewise. It's been great. Any opportunity to speak about Omnisend and email marketing, I'm more than up for it. So glad everyone found it really useful today. And yeah, hopefully we'll come back again soon and do it all again.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely day. Thank you.